Chosen one, this is a divine interruption, a sacred appointment written into the very structure of your existence. You didn't stumble here. He brought you. And today, the veil begins to lift. You were marked for death. Not once, not twice, but 3 times. 3 times the enemy came to claim what belongs to the Most High. But death passed you by. And now you must ask why. Have you ever stepped away from a moment stunned you were still breathing? Felt time fracture like something unseen shielded you? A car missed you by inches? A place of chaos that you left just in time? A sickness that should have ended you? A darkness that tried to devour your mind? And yet you're still here, breathing, awake, changed. This is not random. It's not luck. It is written, He will command His angels concerning you to guard you in all your ways. Psalm 91:11. Your life has been preserved with precision. Heaven didn't just save you out of kindness. It did so on purpose, because your destiny could not be aborted. Your mission could not be replaced. Your presence on this earth is an act of divine strategy. The enemy saw the weight of your calling and tried to end you early. Heaven declared, the story is not finished. You felt the stirrings, haven't you? The sense that time itself is bending, that something inside you is waking up. That strange silence before everything changes. That's not imagination. That's remembrance. Your soul is starting to remember what your mind forgot. This is the moment where everything begins to align. The warfare, the near death, the survival, all of it has led here. And it's not just for your sake, it's for all those connected to your calling. Your delay was never denial, it was preparation. Now, as you step forward into this divine role, type Amen in the comments below. Declare your readiness. Mark this moment as the beginning of your return to purpose. And stay until the end, because we will close with a prayer that seals everything heaven has started. The time is now. Let us begin. What is divine protection? And why does death keep missing you? Chosen one, the truth is simple. You weren't supposed to make it, not by earthly standards. The trauma, the violence, the illness, the despair, it should have consumed you. But it didn't, because something sacred stood in the way. That something is divine protection. This isn't superstition. It's not mere survival. It's not that you were stronger, wiser, or more deserving than others who didn't make it. Divine protection is the invisible shield placed over lives marked by purpose. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. Jeremiah 1:5. Chosen ones often begin life in chaos, broken homes, generational curses, inner torment. But from the very beginning, there were invisible hands steering you away from disaster. A fight that didn't happen, a path you didn't take, a delay that saved your life. Those weren't random chance. That was intervention. Think of Elijah hunted, weary, hiding in a cave, ready to die. But even there, angels brought him food. Even there, he was covered. Even there, the mission wasn't over. Death has approached you. It studied you. It circled close. But heaven said, not yet. Not because you earned it, but because your assignment is still active. There are still chains you're meant to break. People only you can reach. Words only you can speak. And protection doesn't always come in peace. Sometimes it comes as isolation, pain. A door that slammed shut just before you walked through it. You thought you were being punished, when in truth, you were being preserved. Even when you cried out, "Where is God?" He was right there, blocking what would have ended you. Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Psalm 23, verse 4. So remember this. Your survival is not random. It is evidence. You were spared, shielded, and sanctified for such a time as this. Death tried, and it failed. Now walk like one who's been covered by fire. Your first escape wasn't chance, it was a declaration. Long before you knew you were chosen, your spirit was already under siege. The enemy saw your light before you ever found your voice. It moved early, hoping to destroy what heaven had barely begun to unfold. That first attack wasn't just physical, it was spiritual. Some of you faced it in the womb, complications, close calls, trauma before breath. Others were met with illness, accidents, abuse, or fear so deep it haunted your childhood. It looked like ordinary suffering, but it wasn't. It was the first attempt at spiritual assassination. The enemy doesn't wait for you to become powerful. It fears what you will become, so it strikes while you're unarmed. But even then, divine protection was present. You were covered before you were conscious of it. The Lord will keep you from all harm. He will watch over your life. Psalm 121:7. And he did. That moment you nearly choked, but help came. That unexplainable sickness that left as suddenly as it arrived, the constant nightmares, the accidents that made no sense. Behind every one of those moments, there was warfare. Heaven was fighting for you. Some of you were marked from the beginning, feeling too much, sensing what others couldn't, dreaming what later came true. That wasn't imagination, that was the gift beginning to flicker. It made you sensitive, yes, but it also made you sovereign. For you, survival was more than accident. It was tied to assignment. Sewa. The first time death missed you, something shifted. A portal opened. You began to feel deeper, think differently, carry a weight you couldn't explain. That moment awakened you. It marked you. You walked away not just alive, but awakened. You didn't escape by accident. Your timeline was protected. Your purpose couldn't be interrupted. Heaven declared, the story isn't finished. From that moment forward, nothing in your life was ordinary. You were being shaped in fire, not for destruction, but for destiny. And so, if your beginning felt heavier than most, it's because you survived what others never could, and you were never meant to walk away unchanged. Your second escape was not from bullets or blades, but from the collapse within. This time, death didn't knock loudly. It crept in quietly through weariness, through silence, through the slow fading of hope. You weren't fighting for your body, you were fighting for your mind. And though the world around you may have seen someone functioning, smiling, moving forward inside, you were unraveling. That was a spiritual attack, one far more subtle, but no less lethal. The enemy, realizing the first attempt failed, changed tactics. It turned inward, feeding you lies cloaked in your own voice. You're not enough. You're too broken. There's no reason to keep going. It twisted your thoughts, blurred your purpose, poisoned your joy. You may have endured long seasons of depression, loneliness so thick it felt like suffocation or anxiety that made even simple tasks feel impossible. Maybe no one saw it, but heaven did. The Lord is near to the brokenhearted and saves the crushed in spirit. Psalm 34:18. Some of you were in toxic environments that drained your soul. Others carried invisible wounds no one else could understand. And still you survived. Maybe not loudly, maybe not gracefully, but you came through. And that was no small thing. This wasn't just survival. It was holy resistance. You were pursued because your very presence unsettles darkness, not by words or might, but by presence. The enemy couldn't destroy you, so it tried to disconnect you. not to kill the body, but to convince the mind to give up. But divine protection intervened. A whisper of hope, a song at the right moment, a friend who called, or maybe a sunrise that didn't feel so heavy. That was no random chance, it was rescue. Your tears were not ignored. Your silence was not empty. Angels respond to surrender even when it comes without words. That internal escape revealed your greatest strength. Your mind, though weary, remained a battlefield of victory. And when darkness saw you still breathing, still rising, still hoping, it backed off. Because you are not just chosen, you are dangerous now. What tried to bury you became the very ground you now rise from. What almost ended you has made your purpose unshakable. You didn't give up. You were delivered. And your comeback is proof that divine protection doesn't just save the body. It rescues the soul. The third time death came, it had form, it had weight, it had teeth. This wasn't an emotional collapse or a spiritual whisper in the night. This was blood, bone, metal, a real-world moment where time slowed down and eternity held its breath. You were in danger. No question. A crash, a violent act, a failing heartbeat, a misstep that should have cost you everything. You may have heard someone say afterward, "You're lucky to be alive," but you and heaven know better. It wasn't luck. It was intervention. Though they plot evil against you and devise wicked schemes, they cannot succeed, for you will make them turn their backs. Psalm 21, 11-12. You weren't just mere survival. You were shielded. Divine hands stepped in and rewrote the ending. A second too soon, and you would have been gone. A slightly different angle, and it would have been over. But it wasn't because heaven said, "Not this time, not this one." Some of you carry scars from that day, others carry only a memory, blurry but burning. Either way, you were caught mid-collapse, snatched from the brink, pulled back from a moment that should have ended your timeline. Why? Because the story isn't finished. The work in you is not yet done. Your hands still hold healing. Your voice still carries awakening. Your very breath still has instructions coded into it. The enemy knew your calling carried too much weight to be left unchecked. That's why death keeps circling and failing. You've passed through fire, and now you walk with weight in the spirit. You've seen the edge and returned with clarity. This wasn't just survival. It was proof. Proof that your purpose outranks pain. Proof that heaven has veto power over the enemy's plan. And now, with every escape behind you, something has shifted. You are no longer just protected, you are prepared. Your life isn't an accident. Your delays weren't detours, they were divine positioning. 3 brushes with death, 3 divine interventions. Each one sealed the truth. You were never just surviving, you were being sent. You were spared not to merely exist, but to unleash what heaven planted within you. And that purpose, it's still unfolding. You don't need to question if you're marked by heaven. Your survival has already answered that. The proof isn't in titles or recognition, it's written in your timeline. Moments you weren't supposed to survive. Pain that shaped rather than broke you. Every escape was a message. You're still needed. You're still becoming. You're still covered. What felt like punishment was heaven's way of positioning you for power. Each encounter with death didn't just spare you, it activated you. These moments cracked the illusion of this world and opened your eyes to what's real, eternal, spiritual. Near death doesn't leave you the same. It rewires you. Sensitivity becomes discernment. Intuition becomes instruction. Call to me, and I will answer you, and tell you great and unsearchable things you do not know. Jeremiah 33:3. After each escape, Your perception changed. The fire didn't just spare you, it rewired you. What once felt like sensitivity is now spiritual intelligence. You began sensing what others missed, feeling energy shift before anyone spoke. Seeing patterns in chaos, this isn't imagination. It's spiritual inheritance. When death misses you, heaven marks you. Dreams become clearer. Timing feels divine. Doors close, but not without purpose. These shifts aren't random. They're calibration. You've walked through fire, and now you carry it. And yes, some of you feel late, delayed, like the world moved ahead while you waited in silence. That's not failure. That's refinement. Divine destiny often hides you until your spirit is sharp enough to carry what your calling demands. Every setback was a route. Every delay, a recalibration. The vision awaits its appointed time. Though it linger, wait for it, it will certainly come. Habakkuk 2:3. The enemy saw your blueprint early. That's why the attack started before you could defend yourself. It knew your voice would disrupt systems, that your presence would heal others. So it struck fast through trauma, abandonment, confusion, not to destroy your body, but to fracture your identity, to make you forget who you are. But heaven intervened again and again. You didn't just survive, you awakened. You've crossed thresholds others fear to approach. You're not behind. You're being launched at divine speed. What was delayed is now aligning. What was buried is now rising. You are not forgotten. You are not broken. You are becoming. And when your appointed time arrives, the world will recognize what heaven already knew. You were saved on purpose, for purpose. You weren't born into ease. You were born into warfare. That was never a mistake. Souls chosen to shift generational patterns are rarely born into peace. You were sent to disrupt, to awaken, to rebuild. And that kind of purpose always triggers resistance. The enemy saw your potential long before you did. It recognized the blueprint of a healer, a breaker, a voice that would wake others up. That's why the attacks came early through trauma, confusion, betrayal. Not because you were weak, but because your light was dangerous. The Lord called me before I was born. While I was in my mother's womb, He named me. Isaiah 49:1. But here you are. You didn't break. You didn't lose your mind. Every failed attempt only confirmed what heaven already declared. You're chosen. You're still rising, still unfolding. The darkness tried to cancel your destiny, and heaven said, no. Now that you've survived, you must live with intention. Survival was only the beginning. Now comes alignment. You've become spiritually visible. Your light can't move through life unnoticed anymore. This means your energy must be guarded. Above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. Proverbs 4:23. Discernment is your armor. Now, that heaviness you feel in certain rooms, the unease around certain people, that's not paranoia. It's your inner compass. Your sensitivity isn't a flaw. It's spiritual intelligence. Honor it. Protect your peace like holy ground. You no longer have the luxury of spiritual carelessness. Boundaries are not pride. They are survival. Not everyone is meant to walk with you now. And that's not rejection. It's divine separation. Your practices, prayer, silence, journaling, fasting, are not just rituals. They're weapons. They align your soul with divine timing. They keep your spirit aligned with God. You've seen what happens when your guard drops. Now you live aware, and with every escape, you were refined, not erased, but remade. You're not the same. You don't see through the same eyes. You don't chase noise. You're drawn to stillness, truth, substance. After walking through fire, your silence speaks louder. You no longer beg to be understood. You are understanding. You've paid in pain, but the return is purpose. You've become a vessel awakened, and now every step you take is charged with meaning. Every breath is on assignment. This is who you are now, not just alive, but activated, not just chosen, but crowned. You were never ordinary, and your presence reveals it. When you walk into a room, the atmosphere shifts. Some lean in, others pull away. Not because of how you look, but because of what you carry. There's something ancient in your spirit, something heaven encoded. You're not just noticed, you're felt. You are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden. Matthew 5:14. You were marked not by men, but by the Most High. You no longer need applause. You were confirmed by fire, protected in the darkness, kept when you didn't even know you needed saving. That knowing is in your bones now. It's why you move with peace when everything around you breaks. Why you don't fold under pressure. Why your stillness speaks louder than noise. You were preserved to become a vessel of healing, clarity, and truth. Healing, frequency, clarity, truth. The world still needs what's inside you. You've become a mirror, reflecting what others can't yet see in themselves. Not because you're flawless, but because you faced what many fear, despair, surrender, near destruction. And still you stand, not wounded, but wiser. You are no longer a survivor. You are a vessel on assignment. We have this treasure in jars of clay to show that this all-surpassing power is from God and not from us. 2 Corinthians 4:7. If you ever doubt who you've become, look closely. You are the living evidence of divine intervention, a walking prophecy, a vessel awakened and refined. And to the ones still unsure, still wrestling with whether it was all real, yes, it was. Those escapes, those near misses, that inner nudge that stopped you just in time, that was heaven, not mere survival, not coincidence. You didn't imagine it. The danger was real, but so was the protection. You were taught to doubt the language of your soul, but your spirit remembers the truth. You're not overthinking, you're awakening, and your awareness is the sign that your time has come. If you've ever whispered, "Something saved me, but I don't know what," that was your confirmation when your life paused just long enough to avoid disaster. When you woke up changed, after walking through what should have ended you. That wasn't random. That was divine intervention. You've been transformed. Even if you're still learning what that means, you were never meant to fit the mold. You were born to break it, to awaken slowly then, all at once. And if this message resonates even slightly, understand this. Your story has always been divinely ordered. Confusion wasn't failure. It was part of your refining. It kept you seeking. It cracked you open for the truth when it arrived. And now it has. The steps of a righteous person are ordered by the Lord. Psalm 37:23. You weren't late. You weren't imagining it. You weren't broken. You were being positioned. Even what felt like delay was God sharpening your spirit for destiny. It was heaven's way of saying, not yet. Not like this. You weren't being punished. You were being preserved. Your wilderness was not empty. It was a season of shaping, a hidden space where heaven covered you until everything was ready. Many who rushed ahead of you burned out early. Some doors you begged to open would have destroyed your calling. Some relationships you fought to keep would have dimmed your light. The delay was divine mercy. There is a time for everything and a season for every activity under the heavens. Ecclesiastes 3:1. And now something is shifting. You can feel it in your chest. Time is catching up to you. The delay is lifting. Acceleration is here. What once took years will unfold in moments. Everything lost will return in divine form. Everything you learned in silence will now serve others. You were spared for a reason. The enemy tried again and again, but couldn't stop what heaven sealed. You weren't left behind. You were held back for impact. You are not just a survivor. You are a sign. You were hidden for refinement, not rejection. Heaven was sharpening your spirit for the weight of your assignment. And now you rise, whole, ready, and right on time. Chosen one, now that the truth has found you, don't just hear it, live it. The veil has lifted, and your spirit recognizes what your mind spent years trying to understand. You were never walking alone, never suffering without reason, never surviving by accident. The weight you've carried was not a curse. It was preparation for what you were born to carry into this world. So, as you move forward, do it with intention. Begin your mornings in stillness. Even 5 minutes of silence can reset your spirit and remind your soul who's in charge. Pay attention to your body. It speaks. That heaviness you feel when you're in the wrong environment, trust it. That peace that shows up when you're aligned, follow it. Guard your energy fiercely. Not everything, and not everyone deserves access to your presence. Speak life over yourself daily. Don't just hope for protection, declare it. Say it out loud. I am covered. I am guided. I am chosen. Speak these things not because you feel powerful, but because power responds to voice. Take time to create, write, move, sing, build. Because creativity is one of the purest expressions of God's Spirit working through you. Let your routine reflect your awareness. Fast when you're unclear. Journal when you're overwhelmed. Light a candle and sit in silence when the world gets loud. Small actions in the physical realm unlock massive shifts in the spirit. And most of all, don't shrink. You've been pulled from the fire, not to dim your light, but to shine in spaces others fear to enter. Carry your story not as baggage, but as testimony, a weapon of light. You don't need to convince anyone of your calling. Just walk in it. Let your healed presence do what your wounded words never could. This is your time, not to strive, but to remember. Not to chase, but to align. Heaven already made room for you. Now walk in and take your seat, chosen one. Now that the truth has been revealed and your spirit has been stirred, it's time to seal this moment in prayer. This isn't just any prayer. This is a divine agreement, a spiritual activation, and a declaration of alignment with the will of the Most High. Wherever you are, take a deep breath, still your soul, and let these words speak from your heart to heaven. Heavenly Father, the one who was and is to come, the Almighty, the keeper of my breath, the author of my days, the guardian of my destiny. Today, I come before you not as a stranger, not as a wanderer, but as one who remembers, one who now understands that nothing in my story has been random, that every delay, every escape, every battle was part of a divine design that you wrote long before I took my first breath. Lord, thank you for the moments that tried to break me, but failed. Thank you for the attacks I never even saw coming, and the ones I did that never had the final say. Thank you for sparing me time after time in ways I'll never fully understand, for covering me in darkness, for holding me in silence, for reaching into the pit when I could no longer climb. You rescued me when I didn't even know I was in danger. You kept me breathing when I had no strength left to fight. Today I lay down every ounce of false identity that was spoken over me. Amen.